Diamonds on my wrist. When I step up on a diamond, 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 diamonds on my wrist. When I step up on
Yo, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on this very good Friday in April the 15th. Friday, April the 15th, Good Friday. I am joined by my friend. Hold on, you guys can see this here quick. The armchair attorney,
Fantastic.
Mr. Matthew Leffler is here. Matt, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
It's a great Friday, Chris. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me, man. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. This has been a wild first week and kind of rolling all this out. The Freight Coach Morning Show, we're live every weekday from 8:30 to 9 a.m. Pacific time, 10:30 to 11 Central. And we're just here to break down some industry headlines, Matt. But before we get into that, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. In my opinion, asset reutilization is the wave of the future of this industry. And, you know, for carriers and freight brokers alike, you can create a drop trailer pool for your customers by utilizing their product. The best thing is here's a live look in for you guys right now. I'm going to give you a little heads up on where some of their trailers are. And this is how I would take this data right now and bring this out there. So if you have any customers out there in the York, Pennsylvania area looking to ship anything into the Montreal area, for example, they have 2 drive-ins that can go from York, PA into Coteau de Lac, Quebec, which is about 35 miles south of Montreal, 58 kilometers. I'm working on that stuff. And the best part is on their software, you guys, you can see that they actually have 10 drive-ins that need to be brought out of Coteau de Lac and brought down to Shippensburg, PA, which is about 50 miles over from, York. So you can plan that out throughout your week and you can roll with that. And then furthermore, to take it a step further, and that's just under their repositionings that they have, they also have long-term rentals available. They have like 50 drive-ins right now sitting in Toronto, Ontario in itself. So what you can legitimately do, you guys, is create a drop trailer pool. Shippers out there need trailers. All right. They do not need the truck to sit there. Kyle Humphreys, what's up? He knows VHub's a real deal. But you know, that's the thing, you guys, is as brokers, they always needed assets, right? They need trailers to stage out there. So no, you can look at this from a long-term rentals perspective and position drive-ins at your customers' facilities in the GTA, which is the Greater Toronto area out there, if anybody who didn't know that, and look at it from a long-term perspective. That's the way we need to be thinking as a freight broker in 2022 and beyond. So, I mean, for me, that's why I'm so big on them. So visit vhubapp.com, you guys. Visit them and look at their features that are out there, because not only does it help out the 97% of this industry, which is 20 truck or less operations, freight brokers, you can utilize this. And again, we're going to be doing a daily market report out here Monday through Friday on this. So you guys can take this information and bring it to your customers, because we need to sell capacity as freight brokers. As I had mentioned, it is Good Friday. There are a lot of places that are closing early today due to this. So check with your shippers and receivers, see if any of them are observing it on Monday instead, so you can be in constant communication, because communication will always be the greatest separator that's out there. And then furthermore, Matt, I started this tally on Monday. This is technically day 5 of our industry still having a truck parking issue that's out there. This is also day 5 that there's still facilities out there that don't allow drivers to use bathrooms. So again, we're this is just the Freight Coaches tally that I started on Monday, and we're literally going to go with this until there's some actual change out there. Again, I see multiple sides of this, but not one of us would go and sit in an airport for 8 hours and not be able to use the bathroom, right? So again, I know there's some circumstances that kind of tie into all of this, but I'm going to continue to bring awareness to this, just like those driver appreciation weeks and everything else that is going on. We got to appreciate everybody 52 fucking weeks out of the year. We got to get rid of that shit. Like we just legitimately got to put our swords down and work together. Trucking with V, they're out there. What's going on? Good morning. So yeah, Matt, what's your take on some of this stuff, man?
Well, you know, number one, I'll correct you a little bit from your introduction. VHub is all of our friends. I love the team over there. Sebastian,
Yeah, you are.
I love JD, I love Charlotte, I love all the teammates that are over there. Laurence, Adrian, fantastic company. Driving utilization is what you have to do when you don't have access to new trailers being manufactured. Supply chains are still very tight. And I will say this based on the parking bit and also the talk about the bathrooms. Driving a commercial vehicle as a professional truck driver is the most difficult job in the world. If it could be done anywhere else, they'd offshore it. They can't do that. It is essential
Mm-hmm.
work. There is nothing harder than delivering safely freight on time and undamaged. So what we need to understand as an industry is if you don't make it better to be a truck driver, you will continue to have these massive retention issues. And some of the stuff we'll probably talk about in a little bit.
Oh, we're definitely going to get into all of this. But first, this is kind of like, this is huge news yesterday. Obviously, it's no surprise to anybody that's out there that Elon Musk took on a big part of equity in Twitter. And then he tried to offer to buy it yesterday. And I want to know your take on this because, like, obviously you have that legal background. I don't think legally. I just think like a normal person. Because like I think the big thing that's out there, and this is a direct, this could have a direct effect on our livelihood moving forward. Because in my opinion, protecting the First Amendment, which is free speech, is the most important thing to do. That's out there. Like there should, and I'm going to let you go from that. And that's what Elon Musk is very adamant on, is that protecting our right as Americans to free speech. And if we don't have free speech, we don't have democracy, in my opinion.
I could not agree with you more. Now, talking about this acquisition that Elon has done in Twitter, it's fascinating for a lot of reasons. One, again, as a third-party platform, First Amendment doesn't necessarily, and it clearly does not apply to a platform like this. But what's so fascinating is you're watching a chess match happen. So the board of directors and some of the insiders at Twitter are looking at doing what they call a poison pill. And this is a legal terminology that has to do with how you dilute certain types of stock to make someone who's trying to make what we might call a hostile takeover slow down and make them pause. So the next few weeks are going to be absolutely fascinating. I will say, just in terms of overall consolidation of the things that we see and hear, I don't like it. I don't necessarily like having anyone have that much power over any type of media content, but this is the nature of the free market. This is how it works. So it'll be a fascinating thing to watch over the next few weeks.
What do you mean by you don't like one person? Do you mean like Elon Musk taking it over? Do you mean like a platform like Twitter or somebody having the ability to censor certain things? Because again, like I think what bothers most people is the hypocrisy behind it all. Because it's very clear that some things are censored and some things are not. Like, again,
absolutely.
I'm not up here to talk politics, but it's very apparent, because one person can say the exact same thing, just a couple of different words differently, but the intent behind it is the exact same. And I think that is what's very dangerous with it.
What I look at is think of it as capturing content. So we saw a couple weeks ago Amazon buy MGM, and that's a big deal. There's a lot of money being spent to do that. Whoever owns the content has the ability to kind of influence how you perceive that content and what you end up actually seeing. We might just see a screen on Twitter, but there are thousands of engineers sitting behind that trying to make sure that your attention does not waver. And so what I look at when it comes to the massive consolidation of things in our industry and media generally is that when you have fewer hands that control more things, it's not a good outcome for anybody. Now, I'm not talking about Elon with Twitter specifically, but the idea that Twitter is a platform with content, and same with Reddit for that matter, is that you want to be the one who controls the content and disseminates it and distributes it. And this is why these deals are fascinating to watch and always require some level of scrutiny, whether that's through some federal regulatory apparatus or just as public people who use these platforms. Who do you want to be able to control what you say and do? And more importantly, what should they get to know about you? Because these companies, when you're doing stuff like Twitter or Reddit or anything, it's free, right? You're the product. And what are they going to do with all the information they know about you? Well, there's a lot of things they can do. And that's what makes it somewhat concerning.
No, absolutely, man. I got to give some shout outs to the people out here in the audience. Sergio Uribe, Andrew Teal, he's out there. Lauren Began, our mutual friend, Lauren Began.
Yes, Lauren. Yes. Pirate law. It's all about pirate law. I know it's not, Lauren. I know you've corrected me multiple times. It is more than pirate law, but that is what really drives my interest.
That is funny. Jessica Cardinal, she's from Ohio. What's up? Yeah, dude, it's fascinating to me because again, like I see all sides of the fence, but I also, in my opinion, you as a business owner should want, I don't know, man. Like at the end of the day, free speech is everything to me. Like that is legitimately the most important fucking thing that's out there. And otherwise, like, because without it, there isn't a democracy. Like let's call it what it is. As soon as people can manipulate the information that you receive, that's a problem. That's a massive problem. R. Lauren, sorry, dad joke. I got you.
Yes. Fantastic. I love it. Lauren, thank you.
But
Well, just a
yeah.
quick shout. So Lauren was part of our supply chain and law panel we did recently at Michigan State University College of Law. We had some great people on there. We had our friend Dennis Kennedy, a professor of
Yep.
law at MSU and also at Michigan. So it was a great opportunity to learn about how supply chain and law connect. I will just kind of, again, push back on one thing. When we talk about the First Amendment, it does not apply to these third-party platforms. These are
Yeah.
private businesses that have complete control. Twitter can't stop you from going on the sidewalk and protesting. There are reasonable restrictions that people do on time, place, and manner. But we want to be very careful to understand that these platforms, Facebook, Twitter, anything, these are not First Amendment rights issues. This is how they control them. Now, legislatively, the legislature could certainly put protections in, and they may do that. But at the end of the day, these are privately held businesses that have all the rights in the world to do how they want to restrict content.
No, absolutely. And again, I think like to me, it's the fact that why you wouldn't, I don't know, man. I guess I just like, I understand their right as a private company to do whatever the fuck that they want to do. But again, it's like, I challenge the opposition to create a better platform.
That's
All
right.
Create
want you
a better.
They want you to think it's a First Amendment thing. They want to think that anyone can do anything they want to do. The reality is, like, if you break their terms of service, it is unilateral. You are done. That is just how they roll. And you can't appeal it. You can appeal it internally, but you can't go to the circuit court or the district court and say, I had my rights violated. The courts are going to be like, no, you didn't. Go away.
Yeah.
But you're right. This is what gives us the desire to have more platforms, more opportunities. We see further consolidation. So you have YouTube versus Rumble. You have all these different platforms. So it's again, awesome to watch, fascinating to see how it develops. And the law is always touching everything that has to do with communication, supply chain, and everything else.
No, absolutely, man. I feel like at this point in time, the companies that are pro-America, pro-freedom of speech, take those stances. They're the ones who are going to survive this onslaught that I feel like is out there right now. I think anybody who truly challenges any of this stuff is going to find themselves, out of business. I just don't believe in taking a non-America stance. I mean, that's why I fly the American flag on my wall, is because I'm extremely proud. We are the greatest nation on earth. And I'm not going to hide behind that. I'm not going to shelter my opinion. We are the greatest nation on the face of this earth. All right. And we need to protect what we have here. And we should not give, it's like, essentially it's the death by 1,000 cuts right now is really what's going on. Is it's just a fucking like, read a book. All right. Like that's all I'm going to challenge anybody. Read a fucking book. And throughout history, what happens when you give up freedom to a government? Government is
you never give back. Look at the Patriot Act. These are not things they're going to give back to you.
Exactly.
There's a great question that Andrew Teal offered asking about the platforms as public utilities. As a lawyer, the answer is always it depends. But in this specific case, never. They will never, ever, ever, ever be considered public utilities. What may happen is that they are regulated in certain fashions or told to break up. So Facebook is a good example. What do they own? Literally a bunch of stuff. They own WhatsApp, they own Instagram, there might be a day when someone comes and says, I don't think you should own those things. And this is just a quick back up to the MGM and Amazon deal. That's a massive deal. I think it was like 8 or some odd, maybe 3, but some billions of dollars with the B. And when they're fighting with Disney owns some of the most important content in the world, Star Wars, Marvel, everything else. So we're only going to see these companies get bigger, and they will fight tooth and nail to never be considered a public utility. They would never want that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Shout out to Tyler Robertson. He's out there with decent laptops. Steven Title, Mr. Papa Freight. He's out here as well. Shout out Boris Panoff. I see you, brother. We got a job. Like we could talk about this for fucking an hour and a half straight. But
I thought this was a 2-hour show. What are we talking about? It's not 2 hours.
We can roll however, like my show, man. Roll however I want.
That's right.
But that's the thing, man, is it's like at the end of the day, I will always defend the rights of Americans for free speech and everything else. And I'm not going to fucking hide behind that stuff. I'm not going to toe any line. That is my stance. We need to protect the United States of America at all costs. And that's my stance on it. America, that's why I have the fucking flag flying on my wall. I'm very proud to live in this country and what it stands for. Yeah, we got some shit we can fucking work on for sure, but we got to protect what we have, because as soon as it's gone, it's never fucking coming back. On to article number 2. Sorry, guys, we kind of got to get this on the road here, but this is, this is one that, hold on. Let me see here. Sorry, guys. I'm still learning all this shit. Come on, computer. There we
Hit
go.
it with a hammer. That's what I would do. Typically,
I
that's
know.
the brute force
should
solves almost every problem.
I should. It's more about driver turnover. You know, it's about an article that was put out there. Again, I'm citing all my sources, Matt. You're indirectly an attorney for me, so I know you're going to appreciate me putting where I get all this information from. But this one
Absolutely.
was from trucking.org, and my friend Andrew Teal actually, I think, put the absolute best breakdown of this entire driver shortage, retention, all of this shit. I think check out his post from yesterday, you guys. I think it's the most well put together one that I have read out there so far. But this article is many cite driver turnover rates, but few understand what they measure. And this was a good one because this caused some ripples out there yesterday in our social media verse. And I think it's one of those things that, here's one of the things. I'll just read from this one because this is kind of one of the reasons why I'm doing a lot of this right now. A post-pandemic supply chain challenges have been thrust into public consciousness. A new class of armchair experts, no offense to Matt Leffler, the armchair attorney there, but armchair experts have risen to explain all that ails the America's trucking industry. Bureaucrats, essayists, which I thought was kind of funny, and other cultural commentators, for most of which have no real-world experience in trucking, hence why I'm doing all this now, are quick to explain why, for example, the industry faces labor shortages as it strives to hire the next generation of professional drivers. They almost always point to high turnover rates as the empirical epicenter of trucking labor woes. This is a lot. This article, there's a lot of information in here, you guys. And again, check out my friend Andrew Teal's post yesterday. He broke it down the best, in my opinion, on all of that stuff. It's a retention problem. Like, I don't think, and then for them to say like, oh, out of 91 out of every 100 drivers leaves the industry within a year. The ATA, I thought, brought up a good point. That's impossible because otherwise we would fucking crumbled as a country. Like, let's be real. Again, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is a great question. This is a great conversation topic. So I want to push back with a couple things when it comes to driver retention and the turnover rates. What you see in retention and turnover, again, to your point with the ATA, they're not leaving the industry. They're going to a different company and they're doing the same thing. But you and I know, everyone watching knows how hard and frustrating it is to change jobs routinely. That's what happens in the retail space where you're having turnover massively, but they're going to other same kind of skill set jobs. The thing about this shows that there is something fundamentally broken. Most companies before deregulation had drivers that would start their career and end their career at the same company with pensions and health insurance and everything else you'd want to see. The thing that we go back to, and I remember we talked about Craig Fuller's article, that touches on this topic. This is bad now, but just imagine if you have a workforce that understands they change jobs periodically or routinely every year, and they go to another trucking company. What will happen when they see a better value proposition working for DoorDash or Uber or Amazon? This means that when the moment they find a job that gives them a better quality of life, they move on. When you have people changing jobs in the trucking industry every single year, it's because they hope the next one is better. And then they get there and they go, oh, wait, it does still suck. I still can't find a bathroom. I still can't find profitable loads. I'm still losing money. We talk about, like in the big trucking publicly traded companies, about operating ratios. Before the pandemic and the supply chain crisis we've been running into, most of these firms barely made any money. Best in class were doing 90%, maybe 95% OR, meaning they made 5% margin. It's absurd. And anybody who says that the system today is working fine or that there's nothing systemically wrong, I really don't believe them. I'm suspicious of what they're talking about.
No, I agree. And again, I mean, Tyler, I think to Tyler Robinson, he's got why is retention so horrible? It's a very open-ended question, but I think it starts with pay, because if a driver is getting fair compensation for the work that they're providing out there, very few people are going to jump ship. You know what I mean? Like, you can dangle that bonus out there, but most people, like, I'm a skeptic at heart. If it sounds too good to be true, most of the times it generally is. But if drivers are getting compensated fairly at their current employers, their equipment's running right and everything else, then they're not going to be looking elsewhere. I know I got to give a shout out to my friends, Matt Hero at Fresh Freight, and then also my friend Mike Holland with Great Plains Transport. They have drivers on salary. Like,
absolutely.
And they have, what's funny, they don't have a fucking shortage of drivers at their companies.
This is the question you hit on completely, which is, how do you match the marketing material with what the actual reality is? Most trucking companies do not want to pay you hourly. Most of them don't want to do that. They want to pay you by miles. Look at Less Than Truckload. LTL, it's almost all paid, by the hour in many cases. And
Yeah.
so if you have that predictable income, those predictable routes, and that you're able to get home, I mean, just imagine, as you talked about, 270 days a year, you're not at your house. You don't see your kids, you don't see your wife, you don't see your family or your friends, and you're fighting for parking, you're fighting for fuel, you're fighting for everything. And it's not getting easier. As we talked earlier, the hardest job in the world is safely delivering freight on time and undamaged. If it could be done by anybody, anyone would be doing it. What ends up happening in our market today is people are fighting for the crumbs. They're fighting for these little pieces of margin. The massive shipping companies that are bringing stuff from over the globe, we moved manufacturing somewhere else because you could do it.
Yeah.
You can't move us off. You can't get rid of us yet.
Hey,
they'll find a way. Not yet.
Speak fucking freely. I saw your lawyer brain working there. You're like, should I say that?
Here's I thought this is not a bug. This is the feature of the system. It was designed to work this way. It is designed to make it difficult to be profitable and productive in this environment. It will get better as capacity shrinks. Drivers' rates will go up, and hopefully drivers make more money. That is, I think, as you mentioned, is the most important thing. How can drivers have a better living?
Yeah. And, Andrew Teal brings up a really good point here. Retention to the industry problem, retention to a specific carrier isn't a problem in the same way, two separate issues or points needing work and help. Now, I agree with that. But again, I think like at the end of the day, you got to look at it, because there's a lot of hard jobs in this fucking industry. It's not just the driver that is shit on. Like, let's be honest. There's a lot, like dock workers are shit on. There's a lot of people. Like, I think it's a fucking image issue that's been painted throughout time, and it's just eroded year after year, and it's just caused shit to push back. Again, I think like if you're accepting that style of treatment, you are a part of the problem. That's the beauty of the country we live in. If you don't fucking like it, you can go somewhere else. Like, nobody's forcing you to work for somebody like that.
And this is what's so good about what Tyler Roberts is doing with his trade show coming up, or his expo, the heavy duty. I can't remember the exact title. Tyler, please put it in here.
Drop it in the comments.
He's got Mike Rowe coming. And Mike Rowe is a guy who celebrates what we now call essential work, the work that no one else can do because it has to be done here. And we have done a disservice to our community and to our children by telling them there's not a really good career for you in the supply chain or any type of these trade schools. Go to college, get this degree, go work behind a desk, and you're going to be having a great life. But these jobs are incredibly important. We need to celebrate people that have aptitude and the desire to improve their own lives by doing these very, very important careers. And just about truck driving generally with retention. Retention is not the same issue for private fleets. We talk about Walmart with the big boost on driver pay. Private fleets do not have the same churn that our dedicated counterparts have, our intermodal counterparts have, and even the LTL space. So this is kind of a very, the Virtual Diesel Expo. Yes, thank you, Tyler. There is a lot of jobs in this industry don't have that same challenge because in the private fleet business, you're generally paid better and you're home more often.
No, again, and then we got to jump onto our third and final article. But my friend Andrew Teal has a phenomenal breakdown of all of this on his post yesterday. Again, it was one of the best takes that I've seen on it. And then again, that article that we were talking about right there was it's from www.truckingorg.com. Truth about trucking turnover. Again, it's a good read. Again, like, educate yourself. Like, most importantly, you guys educate yourself on the industry that you're in. It's going to help you in all facets of it. Third and final article. This one, pun intended, makes my blood boil. But we're here to talk about it. And here's the thing. This is from Freight Waves. It's truck drivers are facing another bloodbath. It was kind of a repost from Craig's article a couple weeks ago. To me, there are some fucking serious repercussions that could be happening if you don't know how to operate your business. There's a lot of facts that are in this article. And again, it's the information that is out there is not wrong. But where I take like my issue, the issue that I take with this is there's no solution provided for the people that might be over leveraged. And again, it's not our responsibility to have somebody run a profitable business, but it's our responsibility to maybe help them out a little bit. In my opinion, like we're an ecosystem here that as a broker, I need trucks. All right. And again, I will say this every fucking day. 97% of the trucks on the road are 20 trucks or less operation. 97%. So what could we do? Again, as a broker, a way to help keep carriers in business is help them run consistently for you. If you have consistent freight, talk to them about that. I have yet to meet a shipper who has been okay with trucks not showing up. So again, we need this. So how can I work with a carrier that's got 20 trucks? I would position it like this. If I have a heavy freight market out of the Atlanta, Georgia area going over to, say, Birmingham, Alabama, Memphis, Tennessee, and going up to Charlotte, North Carolina, we'll kind of keep it in the 350 to 500 mile radius of that city there. I want to talk to these carriers about how many times a week do they run these lanes? Are they in this region often? What days of the week? Do they have drop yards in any of these receiving cities? Again, how can I build out a carrier network within it? The freight market is always going to be just that, you guys. It's a market. But our job as a broker is to create our own network, our own market, all right? Because markets are immune to this because they are going to go up and down. Carriers are going to come into this industry and carriers are going to leave this industry. That's just part of the free market. But what we can do is we can create that ecosystem out there. We can take that 2-truck operation and work with them enough to where they can leverage and buy three or 4 additional trucks that are out there, but they need that freight to go with. So again, like, I understand the spot market is what it is, but I've had contracted freight to work with. I've had spot market freight to work with. Customers aren't exactly fans of the spot market. All right. They're not fans of that. They want to keep their costs as level as possible. And I'm not going to say don't make money by any means, but you guys need to stop looking at this from a transactional mindset. And that's what we can do as a broker to help keep these trucking companies in business, is help them not think transactionally, because not everybody's a smart businessman. I've been in business for myself for 2 years. I have learned a lot over these last 2 years that I didn't know when I started. But you want to know how I learned? From talking to people, okay? From people offering to help. Hey, Chris, you should probably look at it from this angle. So again, it's like, we can't afford to have any trucks leave the market. And my biggest issue is there's no substance to keep trucks in business. That's my problem. The information in the article is accurate. There are carriers that are over leveraged and shit like that, but we can't have them leave. We got to keep them running. We got to put our best foot forward.
I don't disagree with you, man. The sensationalist aspect of media generally is to make people scared or angry or outraged. That's what gives you eyeballs. But talking about the nature of the business of transportation generally, and the fact that we have so many bankruptcies, again, this is a feature of the system, not a bug. We broke apart the trucking unions. We fragmented the industry with the understanding that some people are going to win and some are going to lose. And the transportation business at a very basic level is cyclical. We see it every year with peak season when we're trying to get everything to the retailers. And I think we're going to have this feast or famine. It's always feast or famine. My father and I ran a repair business working almost exclusively with for-hire carriers. And it was generally the bigger ones, but we had a few of the smaller fleets that we work with all across the US. And just like everybody else, you have these moments where there's a ton of availability to do moving freight and making money doing repair and maintenance. And then you don't. And it's a up and down, up and down, up and down. It's the most cyclical business you're going to find. And if people aren't ready,
Matt.
Oh, I agree. 100%.
You know,
100%.
Here's the thing. Here's the worst kept secret, in my opinion, that's out there. And Andrew Teal literally just brought this up in his comment here. Shippers want stability in their budget, and you do that with consistency. All right. It's very simple to create a contracted rate and a non-contracted rate style shipper. All right. When you break it down on a lane by lane basis, all right, region by region, because again, you pull the data that's out there. If you're looking at, say, the outbound Dallas market for dry van freight, for example, freight going up to Kansas City, Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas, St. Louis, maybe over to Nashville is going to be very similar from a rate per mile breakdown. There's going to be some variance there. It's not going to be identical, but it's going to be very similar. Because again, it's a specific region that is going out there. And with the volume of freight that goes out in the outbound Dallas market going up into that region, you can create consistency within there. Because then you can take that, and that's where I found the most success as a freight broker is I'm taking this information and I'm going to my customers and I'm pulling a 12-month rolling data cycle. All right. So here's a little tip for you freight brokers out there. Pull 12-month rolling data on specific lanes that go within a 500-mile radius. All right. You will develop that consistency that's out of there. You will tell, because there's not that much of a deviation in the market that we like to think. So you take that information and you do a quarter by quarter breakdown and bring that to your shippers and say, Q1, Q2, historically, this is where the rates are going to be. This is what I need. And I will hold firm at that. Take that approach. All right, take that approach. That's literally how I built my last book of business on. And every single shipping manager I talked to said, I can use that because I can take that to my CFO. You're not going to play the spikes and the peaks and the valleys of this industry. Yes, it's very cyclical, but you can develop your own market within the overall market. It can be done. It's not easy though. And that's the problem is your margins are compressed at times, but you make money 12 months out of the year. And that's the goal. Remove the transactional mindset.
Well, I completely agree. And when you look at how enterprise shippers behave, they want, generally speaking, consolidation of their vendor network, and they want to make sure that they have one hand to shake, one throat to choke. And so they always understand that they need to reduce or eliminate their cost because transportation is so freaking expensive. But on that same token, it's about relationships. So if you're a small carrier or you're a broker, you need to build those relationships to get you
Correct.
that consistent work. No one in this business wants you to be profitable at the level you want to be. Everybody in this business is trying to outcompete their competitors. And that will be any number of things, whether it's the capacity that they have with their equipment or the cost per mile that they offer. And at the end of the day, it's so fragmented that there are people who will happily lose money to get home as opposed to lose even more money. So no one in this business is trying to guarantee you profitable loads. And that's the biggest thing truck drivers need is how do I find profitable loads?
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, we're right at 30 minutes. I try and keep it to 30 minutes, just because I know everybody out there's got work to do and everything else. But this isn't the last time Mr. Armchair Attorney is going to be here with me today. You guys should check out his swag. I'm rocking his shirt right now. Shout out to my friends over at VHub. Again, hit them up, vhubapp.com. Talk to them about what I had laid out there right at the beginning of the show for you guys to set up a drop trailer pool potentially, or taking this freight and using their one-way repositions to help expand your capacity outreach. Because again, you guys, power only is an untapped market that's out there as well. You have the trailers now with VHub. Also, all of my sources that are out there, ttnnews.com is where I found my first article on the Elon Musk and the $43 billion Twitter takeover. The second article was from trucking.org on the truth about trucking turnover. And the last one was from FreightWaves and the driver Bloodbath. So check it out there right now. Matt, how can anybody reach out to you, man?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Matthew Leffler. You can find me on Twitter. It's Armchair Addy. It's an abbreviation for the word attorney. You can't have the full word. I want to just mention these eggs here. This is from my amazing son, Michael. He believes this is a great way to help drive viewers and engagement. So I fully believe he is correct there. I believe he's also watching right now. So as always, I'm so excited to be here. And I'd love to talk to anybody.
Yeah, that's my fault. I'm sorry.
It's okay. First Amendment, man. I'm with you. We're in transportation and law are the two things that have the most amount of profanity. I guarantee that.
Absolutely. Everybody, thanks for joining in. Everybody who's commenting today, have a safe and happy Easter with your family, you guys. Happy Good Friday today. Spend time with your family and your loved ones this weekend. I will be back on Monday, 10:30 a.m. Central, to break down another 3 industry headlines. Do me a favor. Subscribe to this out there. If you like this stuff, subscribe to it. I can only send out as so many notifications out there, but mark a little something in your calendar out there. If you hit follow with me on LinkedIn or smash that bell, you'll be notified every time I go live and every time I post something. I truly appreciate all your guys' support. I'm 2 years into doing all this on my own here, and it's literally not possible without the feedback and the support you guys show me week in and week out. Brand new podcast is also available right now on iTunes and Spotify with my friend Charlie Safro. Check it out. I appreciate you guys all so much. Have a happy Easter weekend, and we'll be talking to you guys soon.